There we go. It's a bit difficult to see chat though like this, but I will make a plan quickly and let's get the chat up and going so that I can see you guys and see what you're all talking about, that sort of stuff. Lego Maniac, how are you doing, buddy? It's so nice to see all of you guys here. I was so scared that people won't be interested in all of this retro stuff, but it looks like people are going to enjoy it. You know, we've got a few people here today. Just let me know how the audio is. Can you hear me properly? Can you hear the music properly? And how's everyone's days going? Hope everyone's doing well. We've got some Game Boy stuff on the screen there. So while we talk and while we quickly do the introduction. Thanks, Chris. I'm glad you like it, bud. And I hope you enjoy your stream today. Streaming this from a Nintendo DS, dude. That'll be funny. I don't think the DS does Twitch. I think the 3DS does. I could be wrong. It does have a browser though, but browser is very, very limited. But anyway, welcome to Repair Class. I'm sure a lot of you are like wanting to know what this is, what we're going to be doing on here, what's going on. So Repair Class is going to be like a hybrid between IRL and me streaming. So we are going to be taking a look at a whole bunch of retro consoles dating back various years. Some of them might not even be retro. I plan the next one is probably going to be like Xbox 360 look back, where we look at everything for the 360. But what's important is we're going to go over how to repair these systems, what you should do when you buy one, how you can upgrade it, that sort of stuff. And it's just going to be like a nice little thing, because, you know, my thing is I like to preserve history, and that's one of the reasons I'm into retro gaming, is I want to preserve these things. You know, when my great-grandkids, you know, well, probably not mine, I'm not going to have kids. But anyway, when my sister's great-grandkids grow up one day, I can at least then go and show them what we used to play on, what the world was like before retro games was a thing. And we also are going to be doing like a whole bunch of upgrades and mods to see how modern technology helps you with retro gaming. Like today is a perfect example of all three of those aspects. And I'll show you why in just a little bit. But before we start, let me show you around the set. You can see my desk is in front of me here and it's a little bit empty. As we repair things, I'm going to be adding extra little things to the desk. So if we do a Game Boy, there's going to be a Game Boy on there, an Xbox, you know, that sort of stuff. So we will have a lot of things going for us. And yes, Misty, the 360 is a really bad issue. Now's the time to repair them. And hey, Farleaf. Also, before we start, it's worth noting that this entire thing is sponsored by you. This is what I'm going to be using, like all of the donations, the bits, the subs and that sort of stuff. We're going to do classes and I'm going to teach you guys on retro systems. Because I always, like, every cent that's given to me goes back in the channel some way or another. Whether that's new equipment or gear so that we can record better or sound better, or whether it's Game Boy so that we can take one apart and upgrade it. You know, all of it, this is possible due to you. So thank you guys. And Woody, hey Woody, how are you guys doing? Wow, there's a lot of people here today. I'm so glad a lot of you came. Okay, but let me quickly show you around. So you've got my desk, you've got our giant LCD TV, which also acts as a projector. We've got lamp sitting over there. I don't know if lamp is going to stay or not, but we've got a lamp that does things. And most importantly, we've got an overhead projector. So here I am, you know, this is me behind the camera, you know, and also on your screens right now, so you get to see me twice. I just want to enable your lock, so there we go. Now the camera is a little bit better. But yes, this is what we're going to be using for all of these things. You'll get to see in real life what we're working on, how we're fixing it, what we're doing, you know. It's going to be amazing. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I do want to straighten this camera out a tiny little bit. There we go. Yes, I don't know why I can't hear the Yash audio though. Did you guys hear the Yash audio? Anyway, just let me know if you didn't hear it or if it didn't work so that I can go and fix that. I don't have to hear it, as long as you can hear it, that's cool by me. And the balls. Did someone play balls? Oh, thank you, Raiders. I don't know where the ball is. This place is still too new. It probably fell down here by below my desk, but I can't move right now. We have a class to teach after all. Okay, guys, so as I already said a few times, today we're going to look at the Game Boy Color, which is these two systems over here. And it's very, very difficult to talk about the Game Boy Color without first talking about the original. This is the Game Boy, the DMG, first one that came out. And unfortunately, my one, when I switched it on like half an hour ago, thinking, hey, it's always worked, it's died on me. But it doesn't have power anymore, so this is going to be a future episode as well. But basically, Nintendo released this very early 80s. It uses a processor made by Sharp. It's like a hybrid between an Intel 8080 and a Z80. And it has a few extra things like graphics capabilities to add some sprites to the screen, or actually draw dots. It's can't really even call them sprites. But nonetheless, this was a huge success for Nintendo. And they sold millions, mainly because of this little thing here, Tetris. So before the Tetris game came out for the system, it didn't have like a number one, it didn't have a bestseller, but as soon as Tetris came out and the Tetris case was going on, they could bundle these together and like people would just pick them up and the only game they'll play is Tetris. So it's also like the most common game that you'll get. So it's a cartridge-based system. You've got a cartridge slot at the back there. Cartridges to slide in. And you power them up. Yes, repair. We will be repairing all the things, I promise. So let's take a look at one quickly. I'm going to do the one we'll be working on today. Okay, so you can see it has a little LCD screen that's on there. And what's important is this is an LCD like our cell phones is LCDs these days. Also, that's the first fault. It's not booting the games each and every time you switch it on. There we go. Okay, so it has LCD, but you'll notice something weird. If I tilt it this way, it's not backlit. There's no light coming from its LCD. So in order to play this, you had to make sure that you were directly in the sun somewhere. And if I hold this up, you can hear some of the music. So let's go and push this up all the way. That's what it sounds like. It's not going to work because I've got the mic set to automatically block anything that isn't my voice. So sorry about that. We'll do a demonstration of what the Game Boy sounds like a little bit later. But yeah, it's fairly simplistic. You add a D-pad, which of course Nintendo is famous for bringing the D-pad back from their Game & Watch systems. You've got two buttons, you've got a start and select. This one has a color screen. And now you might be wondering, what is the difference between these two exactly? Surely it must have like a processor that's a little ton faster and a whole bunch of other things, and not really. Nintendo released what was known as the Virtual Boy at the time, and the Virtual Boy was supposed to be the successor to the Game Boy, and this was where they decided they're going to like branch out and use extreme technology to overtake it. It was almost like a VR setup. You had a little thing that stands on the desk and you put your eyes up against it and you look through it. And then you had like a 3D effect, but it was black and red colors only. And unfortunately that bombed like nothing on earth because it wasn't as portable as the actual Game Boy. You couldn't take this and put it in your pocket. This sort of left Nintendo in a bit of a pickle, right? Because what else can Nintendo do? You know, they released this thing. Within the first year, they had to take it off the market. No one wanted it. Okay, so they had to produce a successor to the Game Boy Pocket, so after the Game Boy, which they released as the Game Boy Pocket, which was literally the exact same system, slightly better LCD screen. Was a little bit thinner, same processor, same everything. It also only ran on 2 batteries. Okay, so that was the first replacement to the Game Boy DMG, just the Game Boy Pocket. It's exactly the same thing internally. And then Directly after that, they had to now create a successor, but they've learned from their past mistakes. So what do? They slightly refined the formula, just a little bit. So this was a 4 MHz processor. It's like 4.68. It has a strain megahertz. Don't worry about it. Processor that was in here. They went out and they released this, the Game Boy Color. Now I don't have many Game Boy Color games, if any at all. In fact, the only one that I could find without going to storage and digging through old boxes. And Punky! Welcome to something a little bit different. Is this pirated card of Pokemon Pocket Monsters Diamond Edition, which isn't a real game. It's actually like a completely different game, let's just say it has English translation. But it's a Game Boy Color game. It's a good game that we can quickly demo with. I'm going to stick this in. So a lot of the Game Boy Color games are actually backwards compatible to the DMG. You can take a Game Boy Color game, stick it in here and it'll work. Because there was this short period when this got released, and the new one got released, and people, the only thing they'll do is they'll just change the palettes over for the colors that it draws on screen and then release the game. So you can essentially play this on the black and white system, no problem. But as you can see, you've got colors, and how far did you guys see? Okay, so I went over the screen. It was about where we talked about the screen. So as you can see with the screen, okay, we do have full color. Oh yeah, sorry, Woody. It's broken. I'm on the other streaming PC at the bottom, and it needs work. There's some things not working properly, but I'll get that sorted, you know. But nonetheless, so you've got the screen over here, and you can see it's full color. It's nice. It's got a nice selection of colors. Basically, it can only support, I think it was 64 colors at any stage, and then it swaps a palette every screen if you want like different palettes and stuff. But the biggest problem with this is, even if you turn it just a tiny little bit, as soon as it's in the dark, you can see how this disappears. So this is how we used to play back in the day. If you wanted mobile gaming, this was your options. You can do a Game Boy Color, you can do the Sega Master, not the Master System, the Sega Game Gear. If you had a lot of money, you can do the Sega what's it called, Nomad, which was the Sega Mega Drive, basically just repackaged in a handheld. But that 8 batteries, you can only play for half an hour-ish, and your batteries will be flat. But that was the popular options. That's all you had if you wanted to do mobile gaming on the go. So what we used to do is we used to play this, and then in the car you'll sit in the back seat and you'll like hit start to pause the game if you're driving at night, and then pause it, unpause it as soon as you see like there's a street light coming past, and then you just used to play like that, and it was perfectly acceptable. There's little things you can like hook on the side, add it as a little LED light on there, but even that was really terrible. It wasn't perfect. But for the time, remember that this was released in 1993, manufactured all the way up to 1996, I think it was. Yeah, 1996, I think it was. And it was manufactured all the way up to 2003. Yes, Game Boy Advance came out more or less the same year, but these things were very, very popular for mobile systems, and Nintendo sold a lot of these. And there's a ton of amazing games for it. You know, I've got my 2 originals that I started with, was like Paperboy, you know, what was that? Okay, the other one isn't here. But I liked Paperboy, and I had Super Mario World, and that was it. You know, 2 games was enough. Because it was a thing of you just needed to play for a few hours because we're going down to go vacation or something like that. And it was fine. It was a lot of fun. But technology has moved on. As you know, we've got better screens and stuff. And really what I want to do today is to create a system that we can go and we can actually take this, fix all of the little gremlins like you saw just now with the cartridges. You know, it doesn't always read a cartridge. And we can fix all of that sort of stuff, and we can make the system and make it great again. The reason why I chose this one particular, this transparent one, is because while this looks mint and fresh on top, it looks like there's nothing wrong with it. If you look closely, there's cracks in the case already, because as time progresses, sunlight actually breaks these cases. Punky just mentioned, did you know that there's a Game Boy that survives bombing during the Gulf War and still works? Yes, I did. It's completely melted. It sits in a display case in a museum and it plays Tetris. It's amazing. These things are built to last. Chances are if you buy one today, there's a few things to look out for, but chances are if you buy one today, you can get it working, you know, nothing to worry about. But coming back to this one, if you have a look here at the battery case, you can see that the entire case is like cracked, and there as well. It looked like someone bought this, they took really good care of it, but then for some reason something heavy was placed on it, or it dropped or something like that, and it just cracked it into like tons of little pieces, and you've got like scuff marks at the bottom. All of this we're going to be rectifying today. So, any questions? The Game Boy are also tough units too. Yeah, and fun story, back when I was doing console repairs, we bought from a customer, he bought the original Xbox for us. I'm talking about the original big black Xbox. Okay, and that his house caught fire. It burned his entire house down. The entire case of this thing was like melted and completely gone, and he bought it into us and he's like, hey, I'll pay you for it, please can you fix my Xbox? And we're like, we're not touching it, it's been burnt. And he nagged us and literally the only thing we did is I said, okay, we'll open it up and check. I took the case of it off, okay, dusted it off, took up all of the carbon and stuff from the motherboard within 5 minutes. I did it all in front of him, put it back together, switched it on, and the thing was working perfectly fine. So there are some systems out there which is like rock solid. I mean, you can't do a PS5 or Xbox One these days, won't survive that. What will you do? Replace the casing? Yes, we are going to be replacing the casing, and we're going to be replacing the LCD screen today. So it's going to be an overhaul of the system. We're also going to refurbish it. We're going to go over all of the contacts. There's quite a bit that we're going to be doing today. Definitely enough to fill 2 hours with. Okay, Lego Maniac said, when I got my Game Boy Color, I used the screen cover is scratched to hell and back, but the case is still fine. So the screen covers, if you don't want to get like what we're doing today, you can buy these screen covers from AliExpress, remade in glass, and they look exactly the same as this. Okay, and they're like $2 to $3, and I'll show you now how you can replace them. It literally was the Nokia 5310 of the gaming systems back in the day. Nintendo, the Game Boy, the N64, even the actual Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, extremely robust systems. Terrible if you're doing repairs because you hardly saw them coming back, but like for kids, they thought about everything and they designed it in such a way that it's going to last. So let's start with the actual Game Boy. I'm just going to take off anything here that could be a distraction. There we go.